Within 24 hours of Lando Norris securing his first World Championship, the global reaction has been unusually split for a newly crowned title winner. In the UK, headlines focus on his rise, his consistency, and the composure he showed across the final third of the season. But outside that bubble, the wider fan base has been far less enthusiastic. Months of frustration have built up around Norris, and winning the title hasn't softened those feelings. The patterns are clear across social platforms: repeated team orders, perceived British-leaning coverage, McLaren's dominance making races feel predetermined, and a personality that many still struggle to warm to. The issue isn't whether Norris deserved the championship. Factually, he did exactly what was required, delivered decisive overtakes, limited errors, and handled pressure from Verstappen and Piastri without collapsing in the final 2 rounds. But public reputation isn't shaped by data alone. It's formed by perceptions, radio messages, team decisions, media framing, and even associations with controversial figures such as Drake. Many accept that his title is legitimate, yet still feel the route taken towards it was filled with compromises that make the achievement harder to celebrate. So how does a first-time world champion become one of the least liked drivers on the grid at the very moment he reaches the top? And what are the concrete factors that have shaped this negative reaction? We'll break all of that down in this video. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the full analysis. Norris's title is the product of a season where performance alone doesn't tell the full story. His drive in Abu Dhabi demonstrated why he was in contention at all. The execution under pressure, the clean overtakes, and the refusal to panic when Verstappen and Piastri both applied real pressure. He had to pass Kimi Antonelli, Carlos Sainz, Lance Stroll and Liam Lawson in quick succession after emerging from an early pit stop in traffic. His move on Stroll and Lawson at turn 9 on lap 19, diving past both in one motion, was a reminder that when the situation demands aggression, Norris can deliver it without hesitation. Moments later, he dispatched Yuki Tsunoda, despite Red Bull instructing Tsunoda to do all you can when he catches, to which the Japanese driver replied that he knew what to do. It was a tense sequence, with stewards investigating both Tsunoda for moving twice and Norris for leaving the track. When Norris was cleared and Tsunoda penalised, the title picture finally stabilised. Yet this level of racecraft on the final day stands in contrast to the perception built over the season. For many fans, the central issue wasn't his driving, but the structure around him. The narrative of the manufactured championship originated early when McLaren repeatedly issued team orders in ways that appeared to favour Norris at Oscar Piastri's expense. In Hungary, Piastri undercut into the lead and was supposed to be given the position back almost immediately, but Norris resisted for nearly 20 laps, telling the team that Piastri was too slow and asking, "Why should I?" as he argued that he was the one fighting for the championship. He eventually complied, but the damage was done. After that, references to him sounding like a petulant child became common across social media. The controversy escalated further in Australia, Piastri's home race, where McLaren fitted Norris with fresher tyres and instructed Piastri not to defend too hard. Norris went on to win, and the Melbourne crowd responded with clear boos on the podium. That sense of dissatisfaction sharpened in Monza, where Piastri again undercut Norris yet was told to swap places because Norris was faster in the final stint and needed the points for the championship fight against Verstappen. Piastri complied without protest on the radio but could later be heard stating, "I understand, but I don't agree." People who were already sceptical of Norris's fortitude saw this as confirmation that the team was shaping the season around one driver. Drivers, pundits and analysts offered their own views, but these rarely changed public perception. When Norris was asked late in the year whether he was comfortable with how far McLaren had gone to support his campaign, he insisted, "I know people hate the team orders, but this is modern F1. If you have the faster car, you have to maximise points. I would do the same for Oscar if the situation was reversed." Many fans rejected that claim outright, pointing out that the situation never truly was reversed, even in races where Piastri had superior pace. The discomfort was compounded by the timing of McLaren's re-emergence as the quickest car. By the middle of the season, they held clear pace superiority over the field, with the MCL 39 often appearing unchallenged in clean air. Their upgrades delivered dominance on high-energy circuits such as Austria and Mexico, but the effect on fan perception was negative. After years of Red Bull supremacy, many were hoping for a more dynamic season. Instead, as James Elson described in Motorsport, the year managed to be the most dull title fight precisely because of how often McLaren could convert their inherent pace. This feeds directly into the second point of frustration: the British media's role in shaping the narrative. Sky Sports and the BBC devoted extensive airtime to Norris's story, with pre-Abu Dhabi segments following his journey from karting to the brink of a world title. Martin Brundle described Norris's vulnerabilities as something that make him the most popular driver, a line that did not land well among Verstappen and Piastri supporters who already believed coverage leaned too heavily towards the McLaren driver. Complaints intensified when fan booing in Mexico and Monza was quickly downplayed, with analysts stating that fans were wrong to boo Lando, a judgment many felt dismissed the genuine frustrations of supporters outside the UK. This perceived media bias meant that every decision McLaren made and every moment Norris received praise was interpreted through a sceptical lens. The same wheel-to-wheel errors that caused Norris to be criticised early in the year, such as running wide in Miami or the inconsistent race starts that cost him nearly 40 points in the first 8 races, were framed differently once the title picture shifted. While Verstappen was repeatedly scrutinised for aggressive driving, Norris was granted what many saw as a far more forgiving narrative. Layered onto all this was a public persona that no longer aligned with the affable, self-deprecating figure fans had warmed to during his early career. Months of radio frustration, moments of visible annoyance, and the sense that his comments were increasingly defensive led some to conclude he was becoming harder to like. Old soundbites resurfaced, including his remarks about Sebastian Vettel needing to focus on his driving, which critics used to argue that his confidence had shifted towards arrogance. Some took aim at his body language, others at his reactions to setbacks, but all of it contributed to a sense that the emotional connection many once felt had weakened. And then there was the Drake factor. The rapper's announcement that he had placed roughly $20 million on Norris to win the 2025 championship had immediate ripple effects. Because Drake was embroiled in serious allegations at the time, this association, even though Norris had no involvement, amplified public hostility. The so-called Drake curse was referenced repeatedly during Norris's early season struggles, and once he began winning races, memes spun it as if the title was being bought or influenced externally. The narrative was absurd, but it stuck long enough to deepen the divide between fans who backed Norris and those who felt uncomfortable with the surrounding noise. Meanwhile, the sporting context of the title fight ensured that fans of both Verstappen and Piastri were emotionally primed to resent the final outcome. Verstappen had mounted a remarkable comeback, clawing back a 104-point deficit by August to finish just 2 points behind. He stated in Qatar that if he had the McLaren, he would have wrapped the title earlier, which Norris dismissed as talking nonsense. Their rivalry remained largely respectful, but never entirely without tension. With the ghosts of 2021 still lingering in some corners of the community, it was inevitable that this fight would be scrutinised with maximum hostility. Piastri's story added a different dimension. He had led the standings from Saudi Arabia to Mexico, won 7 races in only his 3rd season, and showed remarkable racecraft, particularly in mixed-condition events like Canada. His late-season errors, including the costly crash in Baku and the strategic blunders by McLaren, created an impression of opportunities being wasted. When the team issued repeated orders that favoured Norris, the frustration from his supporters intensified. For a country as fiercely proud of its emerging stars as Australia, watching Piastri lose the title under such circumstances naturally generated resentment. The final stretch of the season didn't help public sentiment. The double disqualification in Las Vegas, caused by plankwear that breached the 9mm minimum tolerance by microscopic margins, wiped 18 points from McLaren at a critical moment. Combined with the strategy miscall in Qatar, where Norris and Piastri both lost significant ground, the narrative tightened. For those who already believed the McLaren dominance was inflated by questionable car legality, the DSQ confirmed their suspicions, fair or not. Stella insisted it was a small error with huge consequences, but that did little to settle doubts from rival fans. Even with all these external pressures, the way Norris closed the season stands out as an example of mental resilience. After losing the championship lead to Piastri following the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, he admitted he had been struggling with the car's front-end feel. When a mechanical failure caused his DNF in the Netherlands, dropping him 34 points behind his teammate, he remained patient. From that point onwards, his results improved sharply. As Zak Brown noted, Norris had stuck with the team even in difficult periods, and this loyalty ultimately paid off. But storylines rooted in loyalty or persistence often struggle to cut through louder narratives about unfairness or manipulation. All of this leaves us with a title campaign that is statistically strong, operationally complex, and narratively divisive. Norris did what a champion needs to do: survive pressure, execute in key races, and avoid catastrophic errors. But in an era where fan perception is shaped as much by social media patterns as by on-track performance, consensus on the merit of a title is no longer guaranteed, especially not in a season where internal team dynamics, media leanings, and external controversies converge so intensely around a single driver. So the question is this: in an environment where a driver can perform at a championship-winning level, yet still face widespread hostility, what does deserving even mean? And how much does public sentiment really matter in defining the legacy of a champion?